If you're someone like me that lives in city limits and are really interested in getting started with chickens, but you either don't have enough land, there isn't enough space to have them, you just don't even know where to begin, or anything of the sort, then let me be the first to tell you that keeping chickens, particularly in city limits, is actually way easier and way less stressful than you ever thought it would be. So, first and foremost, who am I and why can you even trust what I'm saying? Well, my name is Jeffroburnes, and I have kept chickens in a city setting for just over a year now. And I have not had any of the problems that I thought that I would have when I first got started raising chickens. So initially, when I started raising chickens, I bought 10 chickens because I thought, oh, I might lose 4 of them, and then I'll end up with 6, and then 6 is going to be enough for my family and I. Well, as it turns out, all 10 of those chickens made it to adulthood and gave me eggs. And I was blown away at just how easy my chickens were to take care of. So, what I'm going to get into this video about is how exactly chickens are so easy in the first place. And particularly, actually, how chickens are so easy to take care of in city limits and why they're easier to take care of in city limits as well. So, first and foremost, they're very low maintenance. Chickens just don't require very much from you. The only thing that you need to do for them is provide food, water, and shelter. And then they take care of everything else by themselves. They forage on their own, they keep themselves clean. As long as you, like, have you ever owned a cat? If you've ever owned a cat or you've ever seen anybody own a cat, you know that somewhere within the house is a litter box. Well, think of chickens as just feathery cats, okay? Chickens, when they go into their nesting box, when they go into their coop, they poop in the coop, all right? So then, once a week, you either throw down new litter or bedding, or you simply clean out the old litter, or you can scoop out the old poop, or do whatever you want, right? It's exactly the same way as taking care of a cat. If you've taken care of a cat or you've ever scooped a cat's poop out of a litter box, it's exactly the same thing with chickens. There's nothing different about them. Another reason why chickens are so easy to keep in the city setting is because they really do not require as much space as one would think. Now, initially, when you see pictures of other people's coops online and you go to Tractor Supply and you see all of the prefabricated coops, it's really, really easy to get lost in the sauce and think that you need a big, gigantic mansion to be able to take care of your chickens. But that's just simply not the case. As you can see here in my picture with my coop, all it is just 4 chickens in, and they have logs, like genuine just logs on top of the bedding, and then that's the roost. You know, my coop is not very big, which is another point that I want to make here about raising chickens in city limits, is that they're super, super cheap to make as well. Genuinely, all you would just need is a starter kit. You don't need anything fancy for a brooder box to get started with chickens. You can start with a cost of under $100 because they don't require all the bells and whistles when you're first starting out, particularly for city chickens, because chickens in city limits don't face as much predatorial pressure as otherwise would be from ranches and other large homesteads. And I want to go more into the details of my personal coop here in this picture. So my coop, as you can see, is entirely fabricated from scrap plywood and scrap skids or scrap pallets or whatever you want to call them. All I did was I took off wood from scrap pallets and then I screwed them onto 2x4 posts, and then that was it. I didn't have to invest in buying new lumber. I didn't have to do anything, basically. All I needed was just a saw, a drill, some nails, and then I was good to go. The only thing I really had to invest in were, of course, the nails and the handles. The handles in particular were like $2, you know, and the hinges back here, so that way I could just lift it up and look inside. As you saw up here earlier, with the small space, you look inside, you can count how many chickens you have, you can see any eggs that have been laid. It's just so incredibly easy. It's genuinely easy to take care of chickens in a city space. So then, what does low maintenance, low cost, and small space all have in common to share when it comes to raising chickens in city limits? It all boils down to minimizing resistance. When you minimize the amount of things that you are thinking about when it comes to getting started with chickens, the more easier it gets to just jump into the bin and get started and do it. I mean, think about learning how to ride a bike, right? Do you remember when you first started learning how to ride a bike? You didn't, when you're 2 or 3 years old, it's literally one of your first earliest memories, and all you know how to do is just hold on to the handlebars while your dad pushes you, and then he lets go, and all of a sudden you're on your own, and you're scared, and then you run straight into a bush because you were too scared to turn. Well, chickens are pretty similar. When you're first starting out with chickens and you get the first batch of chicks and have you ever heard a chicken sneeze, by the way? That's how chickens sound when they sneeze. But chickens are very similar to learning how to ride a bike. It's super scary when you first get your first batch of chicks. You don't know what's going to happen. You want the best for them. But it's just very overwhelming in the initial stages of keeping chicks. So I totally understand why you might have the initial resistance. But again, if you just minimize the resistance of getting started and you just say, you know what, I'm going to deal with any problems that happen as they come. I'm not going to think about it too much. I'm just going to get started. Then you're going to ride that chicken bike. So most importantly, of course, is starting small. You really, especially in city limits, want to start small. And what do I mean by starting small? Well, I mean starting with a small flock. Personally, I only have 5 laying chickens, all right? So I have a flock of 5 adult hens that are giving me eggs daily. But how many eggs daily, right? So chickens tend to go through different waves of laying and not laying. In peak seasons, like right now, these 5 chickens on my left are giving me 4 to 5 eggs every single day that they are here, which adds up quick, right? You might think, oh wow, farm fresh eggs, I'm gonna eat all of them every single day. But you get tired of eggs sometimes. There are gonna be some days where you just don't eat any eggs because you're so sick of them. Now, they are yummy and they are better than store-bought eggs any day of the week. No doubt about that. But you get sick of eating the same food every single day, so it's just like sometimes, even though you might think that 5 chickens are giving you 4 to 5 eggs is going to be enough for your family, you'll find out that you'll actually stack up on extra eggs fairly quickly. So even a small flock of just 5 or 6 chickens is going to be more than plenty to feed your family, and you don't ever have to buy grocery store eggs for the season that they are producing this many eggs. And the best part is that even if you get extra eggs and you have no use for them, you have neighbors. Or, better yet, you can even use your eggs as collateral to borrow your neighbor's lawnmower, or to borrow your neighbor's ladder, or or you can have your neighbor do you a favor and have them mow your lawn or something for eggs, right? You could use your eggs as payment, and they're gonna love the fact that your eggs taste way better than store-bought eggs. They're just gonna appreciate farm fresh eggs right out of your backyard. There's not a single soul in existence that would say that fresh eggs are better or are worse than store eggs. Not a soul, I promise. So yes, starting with a small flock of 5 chickens will give you 4 to 5 eggs daily during their peak laying cycle. Don't overthink about how you need 20 chickens and you're only going to get like 3 eggs a day. That doesn't happen. Chickens are super prolific layers. Trust me. Another way that you start small is with a small coop. So I have 2 pictures here. One of them on the bottom is the brooder box. And again, a small coop and a small brooder box, it's really all you need. You don't need anything fancy. In particular, this brooder box is just a scrap cardboard box with bedding, some logs, and food and water when they were younger. That was it. And a heater lamp, of course. When they're young, they needed a heater lamp. But my point being is that you don't need a fancy brooder box full of all sorts of toys and bells and whistles and a whole bunch of BS. All you need is just something simple to hold chicks temporarily, and then you're good to go. Don't overthink it too much. And then again, like I stated with my small coop, the coop itself is about 26 or 28 square feet. I genuinely forgot how much space it is, but it's not a huge amount of space. And each chicken only needs about 4 square foot of space per chicken for it to sleep comfortably at night. Like, for example, let's go back over here and I'll show you the chickens in the small space, right? So you can see that there's 4 chickens in here, and they have more than plenty of space, and this is only half of my coop. This is just half of what my coop is. And then the 5th chicken just sleeps on the edge because she's the lowest ranking chicken, so she just sleeps outside of the group. But do you see what I mean? You know, you don't need all the space in the world. You can do things small. And then additionally, do you know what else happens with a small coop in particular? Well, guess what? If we follow this line that is randomly drawn all the way up here, a small coop means lower maintenance, because you don't have to take care of a big, gigantic mansion for your chickens. The smaller the coop and the less birds you have, the less time that you have to spend maintaining the birds, the less poop that you have to scoop, the less things that you have to do to make sure that your chickens are living in a healthy, sterile environment. So just overall, chickens in general are such a low risk but high reward investment for your property. I'm telling you, they are just so incredibly easy to take care of. You like the risk is literally as small as you can get. You don't need to spend hundreds of dollars getting a setup. You don't need to have a giant flock to get an unlimited amount of eggs. The amount of risk profile that chickens have is incredibly low for the amount of reward that they give you in return. There is literally nothing else that beats chickens when it comes to a low risk, high reward input to output ratio. You know what else is a low risk but high reward though? Subscribing to my channel, giving this video a like and commenting on it and giving your thoughts on it so far. Anything helps me grow, helps me reach out to more people, so that way more people can get started with chickens, more families can eat healthier, etc, etc. But moving on from that, something else that chickens really help with is garden synergy. So, of course, a lot more people have gardens than they do chickens, because gardens don't really require a ton of upkeep. All you do is you just shove a seed in the ground, you give it water, and then plumb, you get your plants. But chickens have so much good synergy with gardens that it's kind of insane. So, first and foremost, chickens eat all of your kitchen waste. If you cook a lot, like my wife and I do, you'll have a ton of kitchen waste that goes to waste, and then you throw it away, and then it never sees the light of day again. Well, luckily, if you do happen to have a lot of kitchen waste, and you're like me and you have a compost bin somewhere in your yard, then you can utilize that compost bin to not only feed your chickens, but also make compost for your future plants next year. So your chickens will eat all of the seeds, all of the nasties, all of the things that you generally don't want in a compost bin. So leaning into the kitchen waste part is also compost. Your chickens will poop a lot, and when you replace their litter or replace their bedding, then you get free compost. You get free high nitrogen, high fertilization compost at literally no cost to you. So your entire coop's bedding can be recycled into a compost bin along with all of the kitchen waste that you and your family use, and it can all be circumvented into your garden. And then finally, additionally, on top of the fact that your chickens will eat any kitchen waste and they give you free compost, your chickens are also amazing at preparing your garden for winter. Now, why is this? Personally, I find that it's a lot better if you don't yank plants out when they're done producing for the year. What you want to do instead is you want to actually crush the plants back into the ground, so that way they can decay and go back and provide a little bit more fertilizer for the ground that they use. You know, it provides a repurpose back into the earth. And additionally, this allows the roots to rot away, it aerates the soil, it feeds the critters that eat on dead roots and everything. You know, it just provides a lot. And then what chickens do is that you can allow them to go inside of your garden, and then they'll dig around for bugs and unwanted pests and grubs and cicadas and all of the nasty nasties that you don't want sitting in your garden over the winter. If you had any kind of a pest problem with potatoes or tomatoes, or if any of your crops had a pest infestation, your chickens are going to absolutely love dining on those pests. They will find all of the bugs, they will find all of the eggs, they will do all of the work for you rent-free, and then you never ever have to think about what you have to do for next year, because your chickens are naturally mixing in the soil and they're doing all the yard work and they're just doing all of this free work completely naturally. They're just doing what they do naturally. And it's a beautiful, natural, reduce, reuse, recycle system when it comes to taking care of chickens and gardens, both in your own backyard. Now, something else I want to mention really quickly is that if for some reason you don't have all of the space in the world, if you have, like, for example, if you have like a very thin lot and you only have like that much yard space, then in that particular case, you still can keep chickens. You just might have to keep them against your house. Now, in 99% of city ordinances and laws, having a chicken coop against your house is technically illegal. But there are not chicken police that are going to be out there looking specifically at your house and your chickens against your house, right? So personally, I'm a fan of saying it's better to ask for forgiveness rather than ask for permission. I have a whole entire separate video going over that particular topic with local laws and ordinances. Go ahead and check it out after you're done with this video. And with that, I also want to go over one more thing. If you made it to the end of the video and you are genuinely interested in raising chickens or getting started with homesteading or any of the fun stuff that you want to get involved in to take care of your family for a generation, then I would highly recommend joining my school community. Currently, I am offering the cheapest entry price that the school community will ever be. I am going to help everybody that I possibly can achieve generational wealth through healthy manners. If you're interested in providing the best nutrition for your children, if you're interested in getting your family as healthy as possible beyond your wildest imaginations, then click the link in the description or comment below, and I will personally try my best to assist you with anything that you need. Whether it's getting started with chickens, whether it's getting started with a garden, or even if you just want to raise a single lettuce plant or a tomato plant in a single pot. Literally anything at all. I will do my best to help you. And with that, gentlemen, I wish you a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Let me know what you think of this format. I had a lot of fun with this. Take care.